Hi, it's Brian. Welcome back to the Independent Cruiser, the channel for people who love to cruise, but maybe want to do your own thing when you're in port. Today we're going to talk about the difference between DIY shore excursions and cruise ship shore excursions. Now, when I say DIY, what does that mean exactly? That means doing everything yourself. All the planning, all the transportation, getting your own tickets, literally walking off the ship, just you and your family and making it happen, as opposed to a cruise ship excursion where you book a tour through the cruise ship, they give you tickets, they tell you where to be and when, and everything else is taken care of. So for some people, that sounds pretty good. Now, the first consideration, cost. Hands down, the DIY option is going to be far less expensive than a cruise ship excursion. I'll give you a little example. When we did Pompeii, I figured it up, and you can watch my Pompeii video. We did the whole thing on our own. We took a cab from the cruise port to the train station. We bought our train tickets to Pompeii. We already had our tickets purchased online. We did Rick Steves' audio tour of the whole thing, got ourselves back, train back to Naples, taxi back to the ship. We had a blast, and it only cost us about $40 US per person. A cruise ship excursion like this cost about $170 to $200 per person. So for our family of three, we saved about $450. Now I will say part of the difference is, we didn't have a live tour guide. We used the Rick Steves audio tour. But you can also kind of mix it up a little bit. You can do your own transportation and tickets, and then book a tour guide there for maybe €20 a piece. Still get that live tour guide experience, and do it that way. But regardless of how you decide to do it on your own, it is always going to be a significant cost savings over doing a ship excursion. Now, there is something that shore excursions offer that you don't get by the DIY excursion, and that's convenience and peace of mind. They literally take care of everything. They have trusted tour guides. They have, everything is taken care of. Literally, the cruise ship will give you your ticket, and they will tell you when and where to meet when you arrive in that port. You show up, they direct you to, a bus or whatever form of transportation you're taking, to your guide, and you're just along for the ride. You haven't had to plan anything. You don't have to really think about it. You just go and you just do the tour. When you're doing them on your own, it does require significant planning. You've got to do all your own navigating and your time management. And if you're late and you miss the embarkation time, the ship can and will leave you. Whereas if you're on a ship guided tour and there's a terrible wreck or whatever delay, they will hold the ship for that ship excursion to return. So, those are really the main pros of a ship-led excursion. What the ship tours don't offer is a great deal of flexibility. You're typically with a large group, you're moving in a pack, you are just very constrained by the tour. That's one thing that does not appeal to me. I really like just the freedom of doing my own thing. I don't like being part of a big group. I don't like being kind of, shepherded around. For example, when we did Pompeii on our own, we got there as soon as it opened at 9 o'clock. And here's a picture of us in Pompeii with zero crowds. I'll say we had that for about an hour and a half, and then the ship tour showed up. And they were large groups, 40, 60 people. You'd see the tour guide holding up the flag, and the place just became super, super crowded. So I really appreciated having that early morning time in Pompeii without the crowds. I really appreciated that flexibility and just being able to kind of handle my own time. The other thing I really love about touring on my own is what I call like the happy accidents, right? It's the little pizza place that you stumble upon in Naples. It's the little gelato place in Rome. Things like that that you wouldn't have if you were moving in this big organized tour. So for us, for my family, if at all possible, we do things on our own just because we do like that freedom. Now, as I mentioned, you're responsible for everything and the ship will leave you. So when I'm doing my planning, I always have that in the back of my mind. I usually give myself at least 2 to 3 hours to be back on board the ship before the embarkation time. That way, if there's a delay in a train or whatever, I've got that buffer to make it back. The other thing I'm always mentally prepared for is spending whatever amount of money it takes to get back to the ship. So if I'm in Lucca, Italy, which is an hour train ride from my port, and all of a sudden the trains go on strike or something happens, which happens in Europe, I'm mentally prepared to just pay €200 for a taxi, an hour all the way back to the port. So if you are going to do these on your own, always have that backup plan in place. Now, would I do a shipboard excursion? Yes, absolutely. I've done exactly two in my life. And both of those were in ports where I just couldn't figure out an easy way to do it on my own. Some of these ports are very isolated and very remote. So one of them, this was really pre-smartphone days. This was, I don't know, I'm dating myself, maybe 20 years ago. We were in, I think, Izmir, Turkey, and wanted to go see Ephesus. And I was checking, are there trains, how much a car, this and that. And it was just going to be too much. I just really couldn't figure it out. So we did a ship tour, and it was perfectly fine. We got on the bus, we went, had a very knowledgeable tour guide. She took our group around Ephesus. We got to see that. We really enjoyed it. But I did encounter something that I want to raise as a red flag whenever you are considering a shipboard excursion. Read the description of the tour, and if there is, as part of the tour, a stop at a shop, Turkish rugs, wine, glass blowing, whatever, be very careful because you will be stuck there for an hour. That's what happened to us when we were coming back from Ephesus. We stopped for like a rug making demonstration. Next thing you know, we were just stuck there for an hour getting a sales pitch to buy Turkish rugs. So I would, just keep that little red flag in your mind, and you'll see them. It'll be like olive oil tasting or whatever, and you're just, you have a high likelihood of just getting stuck. I will say the last one I did was quite recent. We were on a Caribbean itinerary, and we stopped in Costa Maya, Mexico, and my whole family wanted to go see these Mayan ruins, which are about an hour away. Costa Maya is just a cruise port. It's a very isolated spot. I looked, you could get a tour on Viator or something like that, but then I was like, well, if I'm going to book it through Viator and do a tour, I might as well just do it through the ship. That way I have the guarantee that, the ship won't leave us. I read all the fine print. There was no shopping at all. And it was a great tour. We got off the ship. I didn't have to think about anything. We got off the ship with our tickets, went right to the meeting spot. They loaded us on a bus with our tour guide. He gave a really nice explanation of the whole area for the hour that we rode. We got off the bus. We toured the ruins. He gave a really, knowledgeable presentation on the Mayan ruins, gave us a little time to wander and explore things on our own at several different stops. We got on the bus and we went back to the cruise port. So sure, there are times that even the independent cruiser will take a shipboard excursion. And it really is whatever your comfort level is. If you like planning and logistics and navigating, go for it. Go for it. Do your own excursions. If you don't want to mess with it, just do the shipboard excursion. I will say, again, that guarantee of the ship not leaving you would sway me to pay the little bit extra or whatever to do the ship excursion over, say, like a Viator or something like that, unless it was a significant cost difference or an area, you're not going very far from the ship, and so you're not worried about the ship leaving you, that kind of thing. But, do whatever makes you happy. You're on vacation. So if the convenience of not having to worry about anything, not have to plan anything, leads you to the ship excursions, do that. One way you can kind of split it up, if you've never really done your own excursions, look at your itinerary and figure out which ports you could try it out. So if you're on an Eastern Mediterranean cruise, maybe Athens, you decide, all right, I'm going to do the shipboard excursion, tour of the Parthenon and, the ancient agora and all of that, because you don't want to figure out taxis and the tickets and all that. You could do that. And then when you're in Mykonos or Corfu, you could say, hey, I'm going to just, do my own thing and wander around because it's all very, easy to get to from the ship. Or Malta, where you can just walk right into Old Town Malta. So just, tailor it to whatever you feel like. But yeah, it's way cheaper to do things on your own. It is a lot more hassle to do things on your own. For me and the way my family travels, we think it's worth it. We just love exploring and doing our little adventures on our own and figuring out, okay, how do we take the Italian train to Pisa and then from Pisa to Lucca? You know, I enjoy that. And we've had some really great experiences. I'll find some wood to knock on. Have not missed a ship yet. But, if you've done some combination or you have some thoughts on doing shipboard excursions versus your own, please drop those in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Or if you've got any other questions for me, just drop those in the comments as well. And as always, thanks so much for watching.